Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. I am still on the purple cloud after the Ravens' victory over the New England Patriots. It has been, without question, strange days indeed. The Washington Nationals have won the World Series. They have had a parade, which I avoided. They had a visit to the White House, which I did not avoid because I'm really into this treason type of stuff, and the Ryan Zimmermans and the Kurt Suzukis can do whatever they want. But baseball season is over, and it's been a little while since I caught up with this guy. This guy writes a Nationals blog. It's not just a Nationals blog. He's one of the smart ones. He knows where the Masson money goes, which is why I follow him at Half Street Heart, and you can as well. It says here, Game 7 enthusiast. I'm not sure if that's Putin there holding the trophy or whether that's one of the Nationals on the front of his Twitter. But we welcome Justin Howard back onto the program, who is relocated down to the Atlanta area but still remains a Nats fan and writes as good a Nats blog as anybody. What's going on, Justin? First off, to the victor goes the spoils. Congratulations. I'm sure you've heard that a little bit, maybe not as much in your new home in Atlanta as you did in D.C., but for any long-suffering Washington Nationals fan who waited 15 years, hey, man, I'm a Ravens fan. I know what it's like for the new team to come to town and win. It's a hell of a lot of fun, so congratulations for that, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and it's been a crazy month. The thing about the baseball playoffs is that, it's not like the Super Bowl where it's one game and it's over. This is a month-long journey, and it's almost like Nationals fans need, what we need to do is just take a week off and sleep. These games go to 1 in the morning. It's exhausting. It's emotionally exhausting. It's just a crazy journey, completely unexpected, but October has been a crazy month, and obviously it turned out well, so it's pretty exciting.
What made you a Nationals fan? I mean, I just want to start with that for you to give your story a little bit at Half Street Hard. I discovered you through all of my Peter Angelos, Masson, Discovery, lawsuits, where the money went. You and I got to know each other 4 or 5 years ago when I was writing about that because you were one of the very few people sort of trying to find the money trail. And the amazing part about the Nationals winning, and this is a real tribute to everybody from Stan Kasten straight on through what they did, is they've always sort of done it with one arm tied behind their back. Angelos has basically stolen all their money for 15 years, and they still have won.
Well, I'm like a lot of people, a lot of native Washingtonians. I was a rabid baseball fan as a kid. I was born in 1981, so I don't remember the Senators when I was growing up.
You're a Cal Ripken guy. You were 11 when Camden Yards opened, right?
Oh yeah, and like a lot of Washingtonians, we really enjoyed watching Cal Ripken. Really enjoyed watching the Orioles. Camden Yards was a beautiful park. It's funny to think that just how much we put up with back then. I mean, we'd sit in the car for an hour and a half each way to drive up to Camden Yards from Northern Virginia, and then get back at 1:30 in the morning just to watch live baseball. So for years, you would have this huge population in Virginia. Is kind of this unmet desire to see.
Where did you grow up? Reston area that way?
I grew up in Springfield.
Springfield, so, the other direction. That's further south. Because look, in the '80s, late '80s, there was a guy named Collins trying to bring Northern Virginia baseball. But this is before Camden Yards, right? So once Camden Yards was built, even though you're 11 years old, you probably thought, this is my baseball experience. I mean, they've built this beautiful stadium. It's a regional team. They have Cal Ripken. They're really good. You felt like it was worth it to drive to Baltimore, though. You did. You did it enough.
And the whole city did. If you look back, you pull old Washington Post front pages, the Orioles were treated as DC's baseball team, and a lot of fans felt that way. And I think it's pretty similar to the way the Capitals are treated in Baltimore now. There is no hockey team. It's the closest hockey team. People kind of jump on board. It's a fun team to watch. But there was always kind of this feeling in DC that wasn't really ours. We did have to make that drive, even though Peter Angelos put Orioles on the jersey instead of Baltimore.
Now, how do you think that made us feel here? How do you think it makes a 50-year-old guy feel when, for 15 years, he stripped the name Baltimore off the team, and now he's trying to sell it to us? It's like, well, you were my girlfriend at one point, but you were really my wife, and you don't remember everything about the Baltimore baseball experience has been insulting to me over 30 years. And I'm not upset about the Nationals, and I'm not upset that they exist. They only exist because of Peter's ineptitude, right? I mean, had the team won in 98, 99, 2000, had y'all still been coming up here, I think the chasm really happened when Peter bought the team and effed it all up, and then there became the cry of antitrust and, hey, we can have our own team and where the expo is going to go. I mean, that period around the turn of the century, I mean, I went to bed every night, 97, 98, 99, 2000, thinking, it's been 30 years. There's no way there's a team going there. There's never been a team there. We have a team here. Kids like you come up. You're a teenager at that point. This is going to be your team the rest of your life. Everything changed in that sort of 36-month period when the expos were being trolleyed around, like a barnstorming team to San Juan and other places, Vegas and wherever else they were going to put that team. It really is amazing. 15 years ago, the only place they could have put it was Washington. There was no second bidder for that franchise.
No, there wasn't. And for years, D.C. was kind of treated as the way that the NFL treated Los Angeles for years. Whenever somebody needed a stadium, whether it was Houston or San Francisco or San Diego, they'd always say, hey, we'll move to D.C. And it was kind of that, we were the runner-up so many times. By the time the Expos came around, it was almost as if, we need to see this to believe this. We've been teased so many times. And then finally it happened. And to add to your point about Peter Angelos, he really made the breakup pretty easy. As I said, during the 90s, the Orioles were a fun team to root for. They were a winner. They had some great players, Hall of Famers, Alomar and Cal Ripken, Palmeiro. But as the 2000s came along, they were just not that fun to watch anymore. And
they weren't worth the ride from Springfield, period, right? They're not worth the two-block walk. I mean, they're right over my shoulder. They're 2 blocks from where I'm sitting right now. I don't go because it's either worth it, it's either a good value and you feel respected and you feel valued, or it's a restaurant you don't eat at anymore, literally. And clearly, Camden Yards is not a restaurant anybody eats at anymore.
But it's more than just being a bad team. I mean, anybody can put up a bad team. We obviously have done that in D.C. for many years for a lot of our teams. But it was the way that Peter Angelos kind of treated the situation. He actively sought to keep a team out of D.C. And by the time 2005 came around and the Nationals finally came into existence, it was easy for D.C. fans to say, all right, I've had enough of this guy. I'd love to say goodbye to Dan Snyder. I'd love to say goodbye to a lot of people. So the fact that they got a team, and we got a team in D.C., it was kind of like a good riddance. Finally, we don't have to root for a team owned by this man. It was kind of nice.
He is Justin Howard. He is a Half Street Heart. His blog is out on Twitter. No one has covered the Nationals with more fervor. So how did you celebrate? Give me a little. I want to feel good for you because I like you. I don't like most Nats fans, and most of my Nats fans think I just hate the Nats so much. True fan enthusiasm that's born up from an 11-year-old kid when Camden Yards came and your town gets it. It'd be like you being mad at me for not being a Redskins fan, right? Like I'm just not. I never was. I never adopted them. But when the Ravens came here, I mean, I have an appreciation for what that represents when you start a team from scratch and then you win. And I look at the Nationals over 15 years, and I went to the first Nationals game, Justin, and that was in 2005, right? It was before my press pass was taken. It was before I did Free the Birds, and one of my dearest friends, a guy who ran the Orioles and then ran the Ravens, a guy named David Cope, was running the Nationals marketing as they fell into RFK Stadium. And the first night that the Nationals played, I have an inaugural ticket. I have the inaugural hats they gave away. I have all of that stuff. And I really thought about just to be a dick to Peter Angelos, to maybe be a Nationals fan for a while because, certainly the Orioles didn't appreciate me in 2005, right? I did not feel like there was any hope in 2005 for the Orioles. Of course, it took them another, 8 years to win anyway, 7, 8 years to win anyway. But I did not become a Nationals fan. I went down there in 5 and in 6 at RFK. I probably went to 5 or 6 games a year for the first 2 years. Saw the Dodgers, saw the Padres, the teams I like to see. I saw a Braves game. I remember seeing that early in the year. I went down when they opened the new stadium. I went to a game. But I've only been to 2 baseball games. More than that, 3 because I went to the All-Star game. I've been to 2 regular Nationals games in 15 years, or 13. 13 years in the new stadium. 07 they opened the new stadium? 07, 08?
It's 08.
08. So I've been to 2 games since 2008 in 12 seasons. And one of them was an All-Star game. So I am not a Nationals fan. They are one channel away, Masson 1 and Masson 2, whichever, you always see FP Santangelo. And I say Johnny Holiday. I see you all summer long, but it's because I got the wrong channel on. And then I have to click over to Tom Davis to watch my team win 100 or lose 110 games. But the Nationals fandom and the way it's grown for 15 years, I tip my cap to what they've done down there with one arm tied behind their back and a BS television network and everybody in Baltimore sort of forgetting that they exist. They had to market it from within, and they did. And I don't think it's the largest fan base. I still think there's more Redskins fans, but I think my concern over the next 5 years is winning. And what the Nationals' victory now is going to do to every little 11-year-old Justin and Nestor who lives in Laurel or lives in Rockville, they're never going to know from the Orioles. I mean, the Nationals have this 5-year halo now to really grow their brand, and maybe at some point they'll actually get paid what they're worth for their TV rights,
Well, this is how fan bases are built. It's one thing to put a team in a city. It's another thing to actually gather momentum and get some fans. And that's kind of the most exciting thing to see. People like to talk poorly about bandwagon fans, but my opinion is, everybody's welcome. Everybody's a bandwagon fan at some point. Everybody, has that moment where they decide, hey, this is my team. I'm going to follow this team. And I think for thousands of Washingtonians, maybe young ones that had never seen baseball before, to see a World Series this exciting, to see a parade in your city, that's the type of thing that makes you a fan for life. And for me, that's kind of the most exciting thing about it, is that we're going to have a generation of kids that are going to grow up, and they're going to grow up rooting for a World Series champion. And I think once every 20 years, a team needs to have that kind of team that breaks through, and they gets the attention of people that were kind of on the fence. So I'm excited to see what happens. They've sold a ton of season tickets. Obviously, the World Series ticket demand was through the roof. I think the ballpark's going to be more full next year, and the year after that, hopefully. And hopefully they can keep this going. The team has good management. This was not a fluke. This was not a there were upsets, definitely, but this is a well-constructed team, and I think it's, rather than a fluke, it's more of a culmination of an 8-year point where the Nationals have been very competitive, and they finally caught the brakes in October, and that's the type of thing that gets somebody's attention, and it's really exciting.
Well, more than anything with that franchise, I think they've had screwy management in regard to managers, right? Like, if you trace the managerial history over the last 10 years back to Frank Robinson, they certainly have. That's been the part of their team that's been a little the screwiest. I mean, they've always had pitching. They've always had Zimmerman, who we now find loves traitors and loves treason. It's wonderful. It keeps me away from their red hats for sure. But I would say that the manager thing there has been the most controversial part of the Nationals over the last 10 years.
Yeah, and it's been pretty strange to watch because they've had stability in almost every other sense. They've had a starting pitching staff that has, Strasburg has been here for a while. They managed to keep him around. Mike Rizzo has been in place since at least 10 years, and he was with the team before he was even a GM. So it has been strange to watch them cycle through managers. Dusty Baker only lasted 2 years. Matt Williams only lasted 2 years. Davey Johnson was 2 years and change. And it was very interesting to see them. It was like they were searching for the right guy. And it's sometimes you don't know the right guy until you find him. And Davey Martinez got off to a rough start. Last year was a huge disappointment, and they got off to a rough start this year. There was speculation of Davey Martinez getting fired and having trouble managing the clubhouse and managing the bullpen. And there were some anonymous articles last year, anonymously quoted articles saying that he didn't know how to manage a major league bullpen. It didn't look good, but somehow, some way, he seems to be the right guy at the right time. Maybe they'll have some stability now, but now Davey Martinez, who would have thought, major World Series champion Davey Martinez, going from likely to be replaced to now he's holding the trophy above his head. It's pretty wild.
Justin Howard has a great Nationals blog called Half Street Heart. I have followed him for a number of years. He was one of my chemo-sobbies, keeping up on where all the Masson money went. Do you have any soft spot for the Orioles? I mean, I grew up a Houston Oiler fan, right? So when the Ravens came here, I sort of cold turkey the Oilers pretty quickly in the 90s. I do not see Tennessee Titans helmets and think, oh, that used to be my team. I mean, I'm long gone from that 25 years. I would think when, an old 21-31 pops up at Cal Ripken, you probably feel a little something in your belly. But other than that, I would think that you're not following John Means on a daily basis.
Well, I think the animosity goes towards the Orioles ownership. I think if Nationals fans are going to have any animosity, it's going to be directed towards the Angelos family, and just not necessarily anything that's happened in the past, but their refusal now to settle this TV situation, because that's the type of thing that actually hurts the product on the field, and for both teams. The fact that
no doubt about it.
Can't be settled, and nobody knows who's getting what money and when.
Well, I think you know this more than anyone because I followed your work. You know Angelos has absolutely artificially restricted all the money to his own franchise because they gave him the mass and money and said, you divvy it up. And I know Boswell wrote about that in 2006, which is, he's going to do everything he can do to screw the Nationals, which includes screwing his own team. And I can't even speak of him in the active sense because he's in a rubber room at the top of a building in Baltimore, waiting to die. He's not making any more decisions in any real sense. But what it's entailed over the last 25 years of my life and what it's meant for the Nationals and what it's meant for the organization. I mean, this is really an incredible thing that they've won because they've won with $20 to $40 million a year less over the last decade than they should have been getting.
And they need to settle this, is my opinion. They need to get in a room and figure this out. The Orioles have they've had this. I know a lot of fans don't follow the court case, and it actually is relatively hard to follow.
It is.
But the best way to describe it is the Orioles are kicking the can down the road. They've had Major League Baseball had an arbitration panel set up to determine how much money the Nationals get from Masson, and the Orioles are just refusing to accept that result. And they keep kicking the can down the road, filing appeals, just doing whatever they can to prevent the situation from getting settled and getting some finality. And I think probably the best thing they can do is just sit with the Nationals, sit with Major League Baseball, and figure out a way to divvy up the TV money. And they don't want to do that. Peter Angelos, their lawyers, they want to litigate. They want to keep it in litigation, keep it in the stasis for as long as possible, thinking that maybe eventually somehow the other side will give in. But it doesn't appear to be that way because the learners can wait them out as long as they want.
I'm kind of shocked that the Nationals haven't been bitchier. I'm kind of shocked that the Washington Post hasn't written more about it. I'm sort of shocked that they've now won a World Series in this fashion. And other than you and me, nobody mentions this. You know what I mean? Like, the learners have not been chippy about this other than just going to court and doing their thing. And I have not read anyone writing the truth, which is the Nationals did this after being screwed out of about $250 million over the last 10 years.
Well, I think the Nationals are acting strategically. So the one thing that Major League Baseball hates more than anything else is going to court and teams fighting with each other. So
it's against the rules, by the way, right? I mean, it's against the first codicil in the club. You join the club, we don't sue each other. And Peter's already broken that rule from the beginning.
He broke it, and that, if fans don't know, that's the reason the All-Star game was in Washington, D.C. in 2018 and not Baltimore.
Well, my fans know that, yes. I mean, my question is always, what does it mean to the city? What does it mean to my town, the taxpayers, the base, all the people that chipped in to build Camden Yards 30 years ago? What does it mean for us? And at every turn, Baltimore has been screwed by Peter Angelos, including the All-Star game.
Well, the reason I say they need to settle it is because if they don't figure out a way to do it, I think that Baltimore, it is a smaller market, but smaller markets can thrive. And it's not, there is a TV market there. The Orioles can get money. If they were to let's just say they were to get rid of Masson and just sell the rights to the Orioles to a local cable TV
Fox
station.
Somebody, Comcast something.
Exactly.
Yes,
Fox, whoever. They'd pay a lot of money for the Orioles because even though the Orioles, Baltimore's a small market, baseball in 2018 is the only live day-to-day television that people can't, record or watch the next day on DVR. So there still is a huge value in live sports. and the Orioles could get a pretty good deal. And there's an argument to be made that they could get a better deal doing that than trying to keep alive Masson, which is kind of an antiquated product. The TV market has changed considerably since Masson was set up, and I think that the Orioles and both teams are leaving a lot of money on the table by not just finishing the Masson fight, deciding to move forward, and having both teams market their product on the open market. They could probably make more money than Masson is getting on a daily basis. But I'd have to see the numbers, and of course, nobody wants to share the numbers. That's part of the secret, right?
Well, the money's going to come flooding in D.C. now, right? Like, so if Peter's people think that they've got the titty of Masson for the next 5 years to sell television spots on Masson now that may actually have some value to the Nationals that didn't 15 years ago when they didn't have a television audience, and Peter restricted the fact that their games would even be on TV at all in the early days. And I do remember that, wearing the red hat back in 2005. Justin Howard is here. He is half Street Heart. That is his blog. He's a Nationals fan. I do not hold that against him. In the aftermath, anything you want to say about just winning and how much fun it was and all that stuff? Because we've had 2 parades here for our football team. I don't know if you heard, our football team's pretty good right now, so we're excited about that. But in the case of baseball, parades, excitement, winning, there's nothing like it, dude. Congratulations, man. I mean, it's a lot of fun to win, and to your point, it's a hell of a commitment for the month. And I'm a Caps fan, and I went on the journey a year and a half ago for 2 months, where every other night you're up till 2 in the morning watching triple overtime hockey. It's something you never forget. I hope you've spent a whole bunch of money on swag, dude.
Yeah, buy as much stuff as you can. Flags fly forever. Every time, even if Anthony Rendon leaves and goes to another team, he's always going to be a Washington National World Series champion. Some of these guys, Howie Kendrick, Sean Doolittle, they're going to be legends forever, just because they won that championship. They were on a championship-winning team. It's really exciting. It's the type of thing that 20 years from now, you're still going to think about October 2019, which what a crazy journey it was. And you get so wrapped up in the emotion of it, you kind of take a step back and look. They were losing in 3 winner-take-all elimination games in the 7th inning or later, and they won each of those games. Really, in baseball history, is one of the most dramatic October. So not only did the Nationals get to see a team win, they got to see them win in some of the most historic, exciting ways possible. It's pretty incredible.
Any thoughts on the Orioles lease? 23 months left. I mean, I know you do follow all this stuff and how it relates to the Nationals and what it means. You care about what it means to the Nationals. I care what it means to Baltimore. You know what I mean? Like, to the Orioles maybe, but more to Baltimore, because we're 23 months out on a lease to lose our team. That would be an incredible turn of events. 5 years from now, Camden Yards is empty, and the Nationals, the Orioles are playing in Nashville, and the Nationals, have won 2 World Series, and Bryce Harper's back playing for you or something. I don't know. Who knows, right? They got Matt Wieters out of us, and Davey Johnson, and Frank Robinson. Who knows if Cal Ripken's next, for crying out loud?
Well, I think that'd be tragic. I think it's a tough situation for the city of Baltimore. As you mentioned, 23 months. There are other cities that want Major League Baseball. I have no doubt that there's going to be some speculation that Nashville or Charlotte or anywhere. But a couple things to consider is that Major League Baseball needs to approve any move. And as we discussed, Peter Angelos is not one of their favorite people right now, so the chances of them approving any kind of move like that is 0. So we're going to get litigation about that now. Is Peter Angelos going to sue Major League Baseball about moving his team? Is that even something that they want to do? And is Peter Angelos even calling the shots now?
He is not. That I can report that as a fact. I mean, Peter Angelos is not making any more decisions for the Orioles. That's correct.
So I think it's a tough situation for Baltimore, and I don't want to see Baltimore fail. It's a beautiful stadium. It's a historic team, and it's kind of fun having another Major League Baseball team that close to DC. So I don't know. There's a lot of mystery, and that's just the way the Angelos have operated for so long. Is they're not going to show their hand, and I think it could be an anxious couple years though for the Orioles and Orioles fans, and if they're not paying attention to that, they probably should.
Appreciate you, Justin. Hey, man, always good to catch up. Enjoy yourself down in Atlanta. Had I known, I would have bought you some Waffle House or something during the Super Bowl. I was trapped down there for 11 days earlier in the year. We'll stay in touch, man. Congratulations. Enjoy the ride. Get a hat, get a shirt, and, I don't know, drink some Bud Light or something, okay?
Sounds good.
You got it. Justin Howard, Half Street Heart is the name of his blog. One of the real educated Nationals fans and a guy I wanted to reach out to in the aftermath of the Nats World Series parade to not only talk about Washington and Baltimore, but the relationship between the baseball teams. Great segment there. You can find us out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. The morning newspaper ships digitally. That happens each and every morning at 7 a.m. with our blogs, our videos, all of Luke's work and Owings Mills. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's $5 down and $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. Breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colazzos will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. The newly named Dennis Colazzos Show. Happening from 3 to 5. Den's on with me as well after the game on Monday. We're off to Cincinnati this week. We'll be following along. You'll hear all my Bengals coverage. The winless, lowly Bengals, led by their backup quarterback. We'll see how it turns out. I am Nestor, nasty at WNST.net. Finds me, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, anywhere you are. We are WNST.net and Baltimore Positive. Loving us some Stay Fair later on in the week on Friday night with Wes Moore. Hope to see you over there. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports and Nationals parades.